Welcome, everybody, to the Sexy Freedom Media Podcast. It's your host, Helen Edwards. And today I've got a very special guest. Her name is Laura Cruse. Please, Laura, tell everybody about you and where you came from.
Hi, Helen. Thank you for having me on your show and everyone that's listening. I'm Laura. I'm currently in Kanab, Utah. I've lived in Phoenix for a long time. I'm originally from Chicago area. I kind of travel around a lot, kind of go where I'm guided. And in that's kind of what I do. I have worked for over 10 years and continually will not stop just evolving myself and my inner guidance, cultivating my own frequencies. So I kind of can better live off of my inner knowing, inner guidance, inner gauge, inner heart, and live and bring what I'm supposed to bring through that way. Because I do a lot of energy healing work, Reiki master, cranial sacral, divine matrix healing connection, 12 light bodies activation connection, spiritual surgery, Akashic records, things like that. But I kind of sum up what I do as galactic shamanism.
Cool.
I work with a lot of beings that kind of help and support whatever needs to happen.
That's awesome. Thanks, Laura. So galactic shamanism, I really like that term. You know, with the industry, I like to say the industry or the realm, dimension, whatever people want to call it, in where I'm in, which is yoga or energy healing. There's a lot of us that have these different titles. And one of the things, because I have so many people on the podcast, and like my last guest, she was really into energy healing and, self-evolution. So I think I'm going to ask a few questions, Laura, to let everybody kind of know maybe they have the same questions and try to get a better understanding of galactic shamanism. So one of those questions is, what kind of clients or people come to you, and what do they come to you for besides the healing? Like, what exactly are the properties of the healing that you provide?
I find that a lot of people are kind of just guided to me. Like they're like, I Googled something and you just came up, or I'm in this tiny, tiny town, and then these people are showing up, they're just passing by that like, oh, I kind of do grid work on the earth. And so I think people just meet me. I tend to meet a lot of different people, and there's the people that are really kind of interested and fascinated by what I do, but it's still like a very mind thing for them. And maybe they're not so much into like their own real inner work and actually doing the work to get to maybe the things I speak about. So I meet those a lot, and usually those are like conversations, or they don't really come to me for sessions, or if they do, it's one, and then they realize kind of what's going on, and maybe they need more time. But I feel like I work best with, and it's amazing when people come to me and they're just ready, and they've done like their work, and they're continuing to do work, and they're really in tune, and they've bothered to get in touch with themselves and kind of know their inner world and then the outer world. Like I have this one client, and she's amazing. I think she went to Sweden and stuff, and she's done a lot of her own healing work over the years. And now she'll just call me when she needs it. She's like, okay, Laura, something has come up. I noticed something, and I have a list of things I want to, and she'll call, and boom, boom, boom. We just go through that list, and things just like happen because she's ready. And when someone's really ready and isn't afraid of like their shadow side, or just to go deeper, or just allow whatever needs to open and transform or move. I mean, things go so fast, and like so much happens. It's unbelievable. So I think I tend to draw more of those type of people. I could say like, um, a teacher's teacher, like people that are out there kind of already teaching and already doing stuff. Like the stuff that I bring through is like a kind of next level, deeper level. Let's uncover a new layer, because once you go to a new frequency, a whole new layer opens. So
Hmm.
whatever you're ready for, you might have done some work on it on this layer, but now you're in a new frequency and now you're ready to see it from a new point. And so that kind of keeps going like that. So that's always really fun.
Yeah, that's so true what you're saying about frequencies and the layers, because I think sometimes people tend to have this judgment like, oh, that's really woo woo. I wrote a chapter in my book, Nothing Sexier Than Freedom, called I Climbed the Woo Woo Tree, because, people call it woo woo. And I think the cool thing about woo woo, and I'm just going to say this, is that if that's what you want to call it, another term could be energy, or healing deeper within the layers, the frequencies, the dimensions, everything you're talking about. And that can, another alternative terminologies for those is, people that maybe start off at a job in the lower field and then you worked your way up. That's another way to a perspective to look at the spirit realm as well, the healing, the deep healing within. You're going past the physical body, right? And you're going deeper into spirit. And I feel like that's, now I'm just going to say this because this is what I felt when I first met you. In fact, I know Laura personally. I met her at it was a festival that we both were working at. And I remember you did, was it sound healing with
Yeah, I
the
had the bowls and I
bowls?
was doing the crystal bowls. I was going around people doing sound healing and light language transmission.
And I gotta tell you, that was crazy. If you've never done that, are you still doing that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna ask about that next, because that really brought me to a whole new level with you. Like, that was what she's talking about, this next level stuff. I've done sound healing with other teachers. I've been in their classes, and working with you that day, and another class I went to of yours, same thing happened. You definitely are that next level. I loved it. It was, I mean, I don't really know a better word than deep. Deep connection with spirit was definitely what I felt. And I never went in with a closed mind. I like to go into everything with an open mind. And I think that's a real big key. So there's no blockage, and you can really be that bridge between that and this. Do you understand? I mean, you
Yeah.
probably can explain it way better.
No, because I am kind of just a facilitator, a bridge. So it's always the person that's allowing and doing everything. So that's the beauty of it too. Like, you know, we interestingly met, right? We came into each other's paths, which just happens with me. Like I feel like if you come through my path, there's a reason, right? And so, we do that. And the beautiful part about with you is like you were totally ready. So it's like that thing in life too. When you're ready, the teacher will appear, or the person will appear, or the thing will appear. That's going to help you shift to where your soul's knowing it's wanting to go already, you know?
Mhm,
And so, like, you were ready to access and acknowledge and work with that piece that came through, that
mhm.
day. And that's what's amazing because I'm just doing it. And it's just like, if you're ready, awesome, you'll receive it. And if not, it's fine. It'll just like bounce off, or maybe it'll go in a little bit. But a lot of things
Yeah.
go in and then they kind of stay coded until it's time for them to, to activate too.
Yeah, I want to point out the idea of being ready, because there's a lot of people who shut spirit down because they physically or mentally weren't ready. This whole idea of I'm not ready yet, I'm not ready yet. You may not be ready, but your spirit is the one who's ready. So when things happen, or they're, you cross paths with people like Laura, or somebody who's there to give you an offering or some kind of service or some kind of healing, but you think you're not ready, your spirit's ready. And I think that oftentimes we get mistaken where we're like, I wasn't ready for it and it happened. Well, no shit. Your spirit was ready before you were,
Yeah.
So technically you were ready, but not like your physical ego, you wasn't ready. But I
Yeah,
don't think I don't think we're in full control all the time.
yeah, that's a good point because like spirit will put you places, giving you the opportunity, and then you're in that choice point, and that goes into what you were talking more about, like being open. Okay, I'm going to choose to be open, and I'm going to
Mhm.
choose to let this flow and not resist it, because that's a lot of things that happen. People will start to feel something move or awaken, and they freak out. They're like, oh, and they kind of close in, which kind of stops the flow.
Yeah.
So yeah. the choice points are always interesting. Like our spirit and soul always guide us to like where we need to be, but then we always have that free will and that choice to, in each moment choose what we're going to do or how we're going to open, how much, and all
Mhm.
that. And either way, it's all perfect because you'll get the opportunity again. Your soul's not going to stop.
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing.
I love this conversation because one of the things is in the industry, I'm going to mention again, yoga industry or the self-healing industry. I'm going to call it the industry because it's kind of like a category of where we're all linked up. It's like our tribe, right? But what I found too is I I got into the industry because I wanted to get away from all the judgment going on in corporate world where I thought I was trying to climb the ladder. So I wanted something completely different, which I jumped into yoga. I thought for sure yogis were going to be light, love, everything that they preach and teach about. Well, I think we forget that we're also human and we still are battling emotions and everything that comes with humanity inside of us. And I realized there's a lot of talking shit on everybody from every angle. It doesn't matter what industry, what tribe you're in, what church you go to, people talk shit. So I find that, especially in the community of light and love and peace and unity, there's still going to be people talking shit. So I realized there is just this communion with you and spirit, and that's got to be sacred and held at its highest form, and then you can share your gifts, right? And if there's a teacher that's not doing that, people feel like it's their job to call them out. Well, they're going to have their own, I mean, do what you want to do. I don't care, like you're grown up, whatever. But for me personally, I'm not in the place I'm going to call people out or talk shit unless I'm having drinks at the bar. That's not excusable
True.
behavior. I'm just saying, I had to throw that in a disclaimer, but that's my ego side talking. But no, you know, what I found is we there's a lot of people that want to tell other people what they should and shouldn't be doing when it comes to spirit. And it hit me one day like, how dare anybody to put spirit in a box? How dare anybody? You know, if spirit wants to work through somebody who's just starting out or somebody who's been doing the journey for years and years, then that's spirit has that. I mean, spirit's free, it can do what it wants, speak through who it wants.
Yeah, I mean, you can go really deep on that. That's a good point because I think, and that's really shifting now because the frequencies we're in now, as you can tell, the chaos that's unraveling, everything that's unraveling around. I mean, no one's exempt. It's happening in the spiritual community, which is awesome because it's
Hmm.
like everybody by spirit, by source is being called out in your sense. The mirror is being shown and you can't get away from who you really are, how
Mm.
you're really showing up. And I feel like for me, a good gauge actually in a true teacher, someone um, that's really balanced, that's really done the work, that isn't coming from an ego or a distorted energy, because that happens a lot in these communities as people start accessing these realms, but they haven't done enough of their own clearing. So a lot of, I call them distortions energies, can come in and just uh, take on a role, right?
Yeah.
So is it necessarily real source spirit, or is it another energy that's coming through that's just like really feeling into the ego and really liking this teacher role? So a lot of discernment comes, the more and more and more you get on this path, because the more you open to energies and you see, oh, that's what that really is. So for me, you know I get on fire when I see someone who's just authentic, who's vulnerable, and who will just like hold a space. And people don't realize what holding space is. And that's just showing up. That's just literally holding a space. You're not
Yeah.
telling them what to do. You're not doing anything. You're just listening. You're there holding a space for them to do whatever they need to do.
Yeah,
And
I love that, Laura.
yeah, teachers that are kind of always telling you what you need, especially without being present, you can kind of feel when someone's really present with you.
Yeah.
Those are kind of my like, okay, well,
Yeah.
maybe you're not for me,
Right.
because And that's happened a lot. So many distortions have been on the planet anyway and just coming through, but a lot of that external distortions that have been happening on the planet for a while have been cleared out. So now it's just a lot of whatever you're carrying internally that you haven't worked through. And a lot of times what happens too, and this happens with shaman people, people like experience something once and they have a really great experience, but then there's that ego part that wants to share and wants to help. And then they suddenly become a teacher, like they think that they can just start teaching this when really they haven't let it gone inward enough to integrate it and to really allow it to, or just anything else to change, emerge, and allow their own space to become clear.
Yeah, and touching on that, I think, again, it comes to the the judgment of spirit alone, that higher calling or higher being or however you want to look at it, because there's no measurement on that. I think it's the person with themselves and how they communion with that guide within themselves. But you can see, because what goes on inside always comes out. So you can't escape like what's really going on. You can't hide from that.
Right. You could for a long now it's really hard right now and going forward, you're gonna get that shown to you over and over and over and over. And
Yeah.
life is gonna get kind of a bit more challenging for everybody the more that they kind of um, resist, uh, interacting with their authentic self and really seeing it for what it is and then working from there and with that for wherever they want to be.
Let's talk about the benefits of why people want to do inner work.
I think every we all have a spirit and a soul. So I think the pull for everybody, that curiosity, whatever it is, and for some people it's a lot deep, more strong than others. And usually those people are more on the path or more connected with their soul and their inner guidance. Um, but it's just we all know on some level, deep down, that we're so much more than this, that we're so much more than what the 3D world has told us we can be. Everything has that all these programs that have happened, everything has to be hard. You have to work a 9 to 5 for money. You have to act this way with certain people. You can't show your emotion, all those things. Every person on some level knows that there's something off about that. That's not right. I'm so much more than this here. And I think that's the draw for everybody in their own ways for any type of awakening consciousness, accessing higher states of consciousness. I don't even really like to call it healing work anymore because I know nothing really needs to be healed. Everything is as it is. It just needs to be acknowledged, and then it moves because there's no reason to stay anymore once it's been like, hey, I've been hanging out here. Can you just like sit with me for 5 minutes and we can share? And it's like, okay, I'm done now. And then it can kind of go.
Yeah. I know, and I'll tell people what the way I felt after I worked with you the first time and the second time, because they were very consistent. The first time you worked over me, I gotta say, I don't think it was just the bowls, because I've been in classes where there's bowls, the singing bowls. I think that's an instrument to help and assist in what your ultimate service was, which was, like you said, like the bridge, the vessel, the facilitator in between worlds, or you said it better. I don't want to butcher what you're saying, but I definitely knew that there was a connection with you in spirit, and then obviously connecting back to me, because I felt it. I felt this. I mean, I literally was sitting there for a long time after when you were already done. And I still felt like I was in some other, I don't want to say world. It felt like my physical body was somewhere else. And it was like vibrating all the way through my body. I could feel it in my blood, in my veins, in my in my cells. I felt like my cells were telling me that anyways, but they're like, hey girl, we feel you, you know, but I felt that physically. And then spiritually, I was tripping out. I felt like I was on like a mushroom trip or some kind of psychedelic trip because it was taking me mentally in different like this, it felt like I was on a floating cloud. That's the best way to describe it. Like I was floating, like I couldn't even feel the earth beneath me. And I was very grounded. So that was the first time. And then the second time, so the first time was outdoors, which was amazing because it was in nature elements. The second time was in a kind of like a studio space. Do you remember that
Yeah,
bookstore?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. The energy was amazing in there already because it was one of those bookstores that's
Like a
all like
crystal shop, yeah.
like a crystal shop. And that was really amazing because in that session I had with you, and there were other people around too, I felt like, I mean, I saw visions. That's how crazy that one was. So the same thing happened. I felt like I was floating on a cloud again. Physically, I felt like I was on psychedelics. Mentally, I felt like I was kind of being lifted up and light as a feather. And I felt like I was seeing, um, I saw like eagles. I saw like glitter. I remember just feeling just so happy and free and strong though in that freedom. And I just kept wishing I would like go on forever. That's how cool it was with you. So you
Oh, nice.
definitely have a gift. You definitely got that energy, and I love that.
Yeah, like people had told me over the years like I should teach, and I knew I would do stuff like that, but like for me, which kind of goes back to what we're saying about really being in alignment, but for me, this is my what I hold true to is that, I want to be really in alignment before I start leading other people and opening realms like that. That's a big thing to kind of take people out in that space. So I always wanted to make sure I was as clear as I could be. So it was like years and years of doing my own clearing work before and just raising my frequency, raising my frequency, raising my frequency before I felt like, okay, it's time. I feel in alignment enough and integrity enough to do that and hold that space for other people. And I think that's important if you're going to be a teacher, but that's just my opinion. Um, but yeah, I try to tell people this that, anytime you don't even have to be working, like right now, energy is happening. Energy's running, codes are happening. They're always happening because it's kind of like that's just I'm I'm in that frequency, so I kind of just embody that. So it just is always there going out. But then when I am doing an event or a healing work, right now I'm just trying to be me and not focus. But when I do that, I get focused and then it amplifies even more. But yeah, you really described the light language, the effects really well. Your experience of feeling it in your blood, in your cells, in your body, because that's what that is. It's going to those spaces. It's coding. It's frequencies that are actually talking to your cells in your blood and doing all sorts of things, along with whatever's opening up in dimension and whatever other spirit energies people are working with and things. So yeah, you really described that well. Thank you for sharing your experience because that describes it very well about kind of what that is because it's hard to describe because it's
Yeah,
nothing
it's
that
pretty amazing. It's pretty
yeah,
amazing.
it's nothing that you really understand with the mind. So the more you can get that out of the way and just feel it, the more, it's just that's how it's supposed to work. So yeah, you
Yeah.
described it great.
I think it's great for everybody, obviously, but specifically if you're anxious or you have like a lot of anxiety, if you're stressed out, if you're carrying your stress in your body, it's causing a lot of wrinkles and cellulite. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know why I said that, but no, stress, like depression, um, this is definitely something you want to have a session with or learn more about. Contact Laura. I'm just going to say that right now. I just had to, because I was in a really I wasn't in a great place as far as my relationship goes when when I was going during the time that I saw you and we did those things. And it literally just made everything disappear.
Mm.
And not that it didn't come back, because those are issues I had to choose to work on myself, but it allowed that anxiousness and that sadness and that stress to leave my body for that moment. Because when you let go or your body's released from that, it's almost like it allows your good conscience to come in and be stronger to make those healthier choices. So when you leave a session like Laura's, you can go home and you're clear minded. You're like, I want more of that feeling, that freedom feeling, than this anxious and stress and depression and sadness feeling, you know? So it was really good and healthy.
Yeah, and a lot of the depression and sadness, because I know I was suicidally depressed most of my life growing up, so I know that space very well. And a lot of that is, that separation that I kind of alluded to either earlier about why everybody is drawn to this, because there is a separation we have from our soul, just in kind of being human. And as a child we have it, and then we lose it over time as we get older. And it's it's hard, especially if you're very sensitive, to live in that separation. And when you're depressed, it's very overwhelming. It's an energy that just kind of envelops everything, and it's hard to really see past that, or feel into there's something more. And there's a lot of victim energy in depression and things like that. So, the energies that come through in a session are able to park that. Okay, you can step to the side for a little bit so we can see what's really true. Like, what's
Hmm.
true is you're not alone. You're so much more than this. I mean, you are this amazing spirit that can do anything, and
Hmm.
you have all these helpers around. And so it helps bring that perspective back. And then you're right, like, it's really important that the work continues, right? Because then after that, it's all the programs, right, that we have to dismantle, and the beliefs that we created that we're not good enough, that we can't do it, that I'm not loved, or whatever it is. Then those have to be worked on. You have to be ready to actually let go of those beliefs, because that's kind of what
Right.
holds it back. Because anything can get cleared in the moment, but unless you're ready to really let go of those, everything will kind of, you'll draw it back just because that's what you're used to. you
Hmm.
know so that
Yeah,
continual work is really important too.
absolutely. That's actually something I was talking about in my last podcast. We're forever students, forever growing. But as you grow, there's more that you accumulate from the world, and your inner world constantly needs to be swept up, like your house. You can't let it get all dusty and grody. You got to keep
Yeah.
sweeping, mopping, vacuuming. It's the same with your body, your inner whatever's inside inside your inner world and out external world, outer
Yeah.
external. So
Yeah.
yeah, keep
and
sweeping and cleaning.
and that's really important too, especially now with all the chaos energy that everybody is releasing and around. Like, for me, I do it at least twice a day, if not more. After I have a client or anybody comes over, it's that hygiene, only that, like, spiritual hygiene. So every day, twice a day at least, morning and night, I do clearings, because I'm clearing out any energies that I brought in when I slept during my dream time, or anybody is around that I took on, or their energies came close, or in my field, because that happens a lot, especially with empathic people. And that's what when they say a lot, like they can't handle going outside, it's too much. It's probably because they don't clear their space enough every day, so that then you don't know what's yours and what's theirs.
Ooh, that's so important that you mentioned that. Oh my God. So the clearing, what Laura's talking about, is kind of like what I do with called washing. It's also sometimes called, or what other people call Reiki, right? So it's that energy cleansing. And you're so on the money right there, because as teachers, especially when you're working with other energies or other people, we can take on all of that energy. I remember years ago when I was working with the Yoga Prison Project, my first day working with the inmates, before we got in trouble for, touching them, like we do alignments, like maybe touch their feet or their shoulders or something, or do cues, but even the slightest touch. And I remember when I came out of there, I broke down. Like I melted, and I was just crying hysterically, and I didn't know why. And I realized it's because there's so much pain that those inmates had, and I'd taken that energy on. I knew it, hands down, 100% that's what happened, because I never break down like that. Like I'm like, oh,
Yeah, yeah.
no, but it got me. And that was a learning moment for me, because I wasn't practicing cleansing. I wasn't practicing clearing, washing, or Reiki or anything to help clean my energy out after working with other people. Now I'm like you. I I make sure I'm aligned first of all before I do any type of uh, projects with anybody, or do my own working with people, even coaching. I do the same thing right before I get on. Even with you, I'm like, I did a washing. I got my oils, do a little prayer. Um, it's so important to be clear
Yeah.
minded, because when somebody's off. I know when I'm off. I'm sure you know when you're off. You're like,
Yeah, I know when I'm off and
excuse me,
what
Laura,
I've
can we just pause, but hold, I need to I need to cleanse. Right? Okay, I'm good now. I'm good. I'm back.
okay, good. No, I know when I'm off, and I actually most of the times, and I didn't know this earlier, and I would have realized a lot of my stuff growing up, even all the depression, sadness wasn't even mine. Because I also, and I didn't realize this till later, that I'm a transmuter. So I take energy and I transmute it. So even if you do stuff like that, then you're definitely gonna have more energies just gravitating toward you, like, oh, you're gonna help, okay, and you
Yeah.
don't even know it. Um, so important. It kind of changed everything. And I hear a lot with the empathic people, like that's their thing, like, oh, I can't, I'm too empathic because, and it's good to have your boundaries. It's good to know when it's time to leave a situation, or like sometimes, if I go hang out with people, it's like, okay, I've had enough, I'll leave now or whatever.
So
But
how
it's
does
also
somebody?
not stay victim to that, because to know that you can clear this out.
Mhm, mhm.
Not everybody's bombarding you, and you can't you if you actually get sovereign in yourself and start doing your clearings every day and command that they be done and know that they're done, then the world changes for you, especially if you're empathic.
So let's talk about empaths for a second, because there's a lot of people who say I'm empath, and I take on everybody's energy. You could be talking to like five empaths, and they're all like, "Oh, you're an empath? Yeah, I can't take on your energy." And they're like, "Oh, well, I'm an empath." So there's this like thing about empaths now. And from your perspective, what is an empath? So people that don't know what the hell we're talking about know.
That's a hard term, because I think everybody is empathic. It's just how much are you online to it,
Mm,
right?
good answer.
All have that intuition. We all have that knowing. We all, once we are online and coded and got everything working and ourselves cleared out, we're all psychic. We're all heal. We can all do this. There's nothing that we can't access. Um, so that thing about, oh, I'm empathic, I can't be around you, but you're empathic too. I've been around those types a lot, and I just kind of say, okay, because then I kind of get a gauge, okay, oh, I know where you're at. I know where you are in your own power or lack of, that this is too, you feel this is overtaking you, right?
Mm,
That you don't have
good.
any
Yep.
power in this situation, so you're going to step away. And for me, I'm also this thing that there's this thing with like no separation with me. I'm very much in this oneness, but on a different level than other people. So no energies really stay that separate from me, because they're all the same. They're all one. Um, so in that sense, I've tried shields over like my whole life. None of it works. The shields for me, I mean, it just doesn't work. But I think that's part of like my soul's agreement to be that transmuter, and to not have any separation with any energy.
Mm, yeah.
Like live in literal no separation. So for me, it's been a real thing of really becoming empowered, really becoming sovereign. So I know when, okay, boom, you're not mine, you can, and just taking control of my space, when it needs to be,
Right.
you
Yeah,
know.
that's a good point right there. Taking control of your space, right? And like how much is your space versus the other person when you guys are in the same room.
Right.
But I think that's for me when somebody's talking to me and all of a sudden they're just dumping, quotations dumping all their day, all of the, and it's not good energy. It's more like, did you see the news? And oh my gosh, this one person died, and all of this chaos they're just dumping on me. Oh my god, and f that guy and f this chick and blah blah blah. It's just like what, and I could feel the energy coming at me like it's just like a storm. And I've said it to a few people where I'm like, whoa, stop, like I can't right now, like just shut up, like I seriously have been mean. And then after I'm mean, I'm like breathing, like, and then I go, because they got this look at me like, whoa, did she just, Helen, the nice, kind being, did she just tell me to shut up? And then I'll be like, look, and I always do this like thing with my hand, like I go, like I'm bringing it in, bring it in. And I say, I'm not trying to be mean. I swear, this is exactly what I say. I'm not trying to be mean, but I'm just really trying to protect my energy. I'm very aware what's going on in the world. I know there's a lot of bad things that go on. I really want you to be able to express your day to me or the situation, but just give me a second to like stand and ground myself for it. Cause dang, I almost got blew over like a tree. So I get it. Control your space.
Yeah. And you know, in those situations, I always like to when I can feel something coming at me and I can feel that like, whoa, it's just where I'm at now. It's like I look for anything. I'm like, okay, where is there still something in me? What still needs to be
Yeah,
uncovered?
yeah.
Like, oh, what's that? Like, why is that making me feel so out of balance or
Mm,
whatever? Because then there's usually still something in me that's getting riled by it or something. But then also for me, like I just noticed, and this has happened a lot over my life, and it's kind of been challenging because I took it on myself, like, oh, is there something wrong with me? Because people do act kind of in different ways with me, where they do open up and share, but I have this frequency that kind of just holds a certain space and I don't have to say anything. I can just like sit there and then people just kind of know like, oh, she's not going to take on this victim. Like she's not going to sit there and let me cry and be a victim with her. So they just stop or they like leave. They get uncomfortable and they leave. Um so that's been interesting. And oh, there was something else. Um I don't know, it left. I don't know what it was. There's some
No,
other
I know
stream.
what you're saying. When I was with you on that second time that we met, that was pretty interesting because you had a lot of people going around in the circle and talking to you, and you were kind of filling out and giving information to them that you were getting fed. I assume through spirit or your spirit guides, or you probably can use your terminology, but I think I've seen people come to you, and that was cool because that means you're needed, you're wanted, your energy, whatever you're doing, Laura, you're offering something that a lot of people aren't offering. And I feel like just on my own personal uh, times I've spent with you, that you're a benefit to the world, you're a benefit to people. And not that nobody else is, don't get jelly here, but I know I've met specific beings on my journey in life so far that I'm just like, they're unique. They got something that they've they've dedicated their life to. And I think you have. I mean, am I wrong or?
No, like once I got turned on, once all the codes started going on about 10 years ago, it hasn't, like, I knew there was I haven't done anything else except cultivate this
Mhm.
and do what I can to expand and grow. And then as like going forward, knowing like, oh, this is what I'm here to do. Not really knowing that before.
Yeah.
But once everything started turning on, and it was all like, I can get really hard on myself too. And it's like, how come this didn't turn on until I was like 30 or I was you know, and but also getting the knowing that I needed to experience what I experienced when I was younger, kind of that veil still being there, really to understand, the humanness of what it is to be human, and the pain and suffering that we go through. So
Mhm.
it's like they didn't give me. I literally had to do the journey, like definitely just like a human, start to finish. I didn't get any like big, you know, just always knowings when I was younger, or anything that some other magical people talk about. Like it seems very magical. Mine was very having to go through everything and remember and learn, um, relearn, re-remember. But I remember what I was going to say for that other thing was that what's happening too now, the timelines are completely shifted. So if you notice, and I've noticed this a lot, like it's kind of crazy. It's like two, at least, if not more, two different worlds. So it's kind of like, especially now with all the craziness, um, there's people that are so into that, like the people that you talk about that are like, oh my God, this sucks. They're literally in that timeline, in that frequency. And then it's like I'm in a completely different world. I'm in a completely different frequency where that stuff isn't entering my timeline. It's not in this frequency realm. So
Mhm.
it's very interesting then, like, um, even stuff with all the all the mass codes, like that's just not even in my sphere, because it's
Mhm.
just like a totally different frequency. And it's kind of, you can analogize it to like being in like a couple different dimensions, where you're watching the world doing all this stuff, but you're not really affected that much by it or part of it, because it's not, you're in a whole different timeline frequency of like this new earth thing. um
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing is there's so many touchy subjects that people get upset about when you mention things like that, like, oh,
yeah,
she doesn't know that because I'm kind of in the same frequency where I'm just like, again, what I mentioned earlier, I know what's going on. I'm not an idiot, y'all. But I really feel like it comes down to choice of where you're putting your energy and your focus at, and how you're protecting, like I mentioned all the time, protecting your throne, which is for me my mind, body, and spirit. Like how I'm protecting myself against like bad energy, if you want to call it, or I mean, not all of it's bad, it's good to know, right? But for me, if it has a really negative effect and it's going to really fuck up my communion with myself, like then we got problems, because now I've allowed something external to come in and kind of crash down all the hard work and the time I've put into helping me become a better person in this world for myself and for others. So everybody's got their reasons, right? But I think what you're doing, and for somebody like you who's taken on the role as being a vessel or a guide, I really admire that you have chosen to be in your frequency wherever you're at versus where many other people are, because if you weren't, how could you be true to who you are and what you say you do, and to also be that higher power to help bridge, to bring your gifts to people that need it,
yeah, what you said is super important. Where we put our energy, where we choose to put our energy, super super important, especially right now, because we are getting those choices. It's like so clear, where are you putting your energy? Like even after you do it, it's very clear. The consequences, they come really fast,
Yeah.
of what's happening depending on where you put your energy. And oftentimes I wonder, like, why I was put in this tiny little town. I was literally guided here, and I had a lot of isolation feelings and stuff coming up in December. So I was feeling a
Mhm.
lot of loneliness and isolation. So I was working with that and just, sitting with that. But in all that, I never knew, I knew I was never supposed to leave, that I'm supposed to be here. And so, part of that I know is the fact that this is such a small, tiny town, and it is allowing me to really stay in my frequency,
And
stay
where are
in.
you currently at?
I'm in Kanab, Utah, but I'm technically living in this town called Fredonia, which actually means strong woman.
Ooh, wow.
Um, but this town is like no mailboxes. There's nothing in this Fredonia
Yeah.
town. 5 to 10 minutes into Kanab. But even that is a really tiny town, and it's a tourist town that's like kind of closed in the winter. Um, so because I do these like light language Zoom groups every week too, and man, the stuff I'm doing in there, it's like I'm not even talk about it because it's crazy shit. But I mean, this grid work that I didn't really think I was doing, I'm realizing like, oh wow, I'm doing all this grid and all this, you know, all
Yeah.
this other work, and it's like, yeah, I actually am in the perfect place to be doing all the stuff I'm doing right now, um,
Mm.
because I'm not in a big city where you know
Yeah.
people are crazy.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Laura. Wow. Oh my God. I just love you so much. And I love talking with you. Like I feel energized just by talking to you in like a good, esteemed way. So I appreciate you. So you mentioned Zoom. Are you doing any virtual classes right now or virtual working with virtual clients or people in your town? Because we'd like to go ahead and take the platform and tell everybody anything you got coming up or how to reach you, how to work with you. Go.
Yeah, I do sessions out of my little healing room in my house in Kanab. So if you're in town, you can come in person with me. And then all the work I do can be done distance work. So we can do certain things like over Zoom. I'll work with people doing mostly that's Akashic stuff. But then any kind of like Reiki or spiritual surgery, I do distance. I'm here, you're in California, wherever you are, and it's done that way. I haven't been doing any virtual classes. I have been thinking about because I used to do group Akashic record readings virtually, and I just haven't done that yet. I guess if enough people want me to do that, I'll start that up again. I have thought about it. Um, and I do lead some groups here in town. I lead a dance and a meditation, sound meditation, light language, and a group Akashic. And I want to start leading a breath work too. So I do all of these in town. Um, and then my website is starlightfrequency.com, and you can find me there and find out more about me. I have YouTube, it's Soul Seer 11, or it's just Soul Seer. I think it's Soul Seer 11. I haven't put too much on there, but it's SEER. Um, yeah, and I do have a booking thing on my website, but that doesn't work very well. So if you're interested to contact me about sessions, just text me or call me or email me. Best way.
Awesome. Oh my God. Thank you so much. So yeah, I'll put everything in the show notes, everybody. So where to contact her. And thank you so much for listening. If you have any feedback for us, any questions, again, I'll have everything in the show notes. Please subscribe, share, hashtag sharing is caring, and reach out. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for everybody listening.
And
Bye.
thank you, Helen, too,
Oh,
for being amazing and for doing what you're doing and continuing the growth you're doing and everything you're bringing out to people and the guidance that you're just following your spirit and going where you need to be like is beautiful. Thank you for what you're doing too.
I did not pay her to say any of that, guys.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I really, I really appreciate that. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Ciao.
Bye.